Hey guys, Nick Kellar, Atlas Premier Realty, coming to you with another video blog. First and foremost, hope you guys are having a great summer, and most importantly, you and your family are staying safe and healthy through what's just turned out to be a very weird year, weird time. So hope you guys are doing well through it all. I wanted to touch on something that's come up as the years played out, specifically in the real estate industry, and that is, should I buy now, or should I wait another year? And it's a great question whether you're buying your first home or you're selling something and buying another house. And I think it's important to realize that no matter the market and what the conditions are, there's 6 principles, 6 filters that you should be going through when you're thinking about making that decision. And the first one is, are you committed to being in one place? Homeownership is a long-term game, although over the last few years or decade, there's definitely more than a fair share of instances where people have bought a house and then a couple years later, have been able to sell it for a gain. I think that's a slippery slope if you're thinking on that, because we don't know what the future holds. I think if you get into buying a house, you should do it with the intentions of staying there for 5+ years. If you can say yes to that, I think you check that box. The second one is, are you committed to home ownership? Like a pet, like kids, home ownership is a responsibility. It needs to be cared for, it needs to be tended for, it needs to be loved. If you're committed to the responsibility that comes to home ownership and taking care of a home, then you can check that box. Is your credit score up to standard? So credit score standards change. In March, we actually saw lenders tighten credit standards, which means they raised the minimum credit score that you needed in order to borrow money. So you need to know what they are, you need to know what your credit score is, so that you can make sure that you're in alignment and in the best position to capitalize on good financing terms. What's the state of your finances? That's the fourth one. You want to know the state of your finances, and are you properly set up to buy a house? So what does that mean? Do you have money saved up for a down payment? How about closing costs? What if you're not successful getting closing help from a seller? You want to make sure that you have enough for them. What about an emergency fund? Things pop up, life happens. Do you have money saved up in the event that an emergency, and your engine in your car blows up? That can really, really put you in a bad position. So make sure that you have an emergency fund. Do you have capital reserves? What does that mean? So do you have a padding of living expenses in case you go through a rough period of time? Minimally, I like to say 3+ months of living expenses saved up is a good place to start. So if you can check that box, moving on, do you have stability with your employment? Obviously, that's a big topic of concern right now with all that's going on. But if you have confidence that your employment is secure and that you're not going to be on shaky grounds over the next few years or next year, that you can check that box. And then the last one really is, what's the current state of the real estate market? And I wanted to dive into that for a second because that's always changing. And I think what people are hearing, and it's certainly true, is that we are in a heavy seller's market. Heaviest in 17 years of doing this, I tell you, it's the heaviest seller's market I've ever seen. So there's a lot of demand and very little inventory. I've never seen it that big of a disparity between the supply and demand. Now, most people would say, well, if prices are super high, highest they've ever been, then I'll just wait. And that's understandable, but there's more to that story. So while prices are historically at the highest they've been, interest rates are historically at the lowest they've been. And the number you're really looking for is affordability. Affordability is actually the best it's been in Maryland since before 1995, 25+ years. The affordability is as good as it's been in 25 years right now. So it's important to realize, we know what today's conditions are. We don't know what next year brings or the year following. So affordability is really good right now, even though prices are really high, and that's because of the interest rate. Let me illustrate that for you for a second. So let's say you buy a house right now and the price is $300,000. Interest rates are right around 3%. Some weeks they're dipping below that, some weeks are just above it. But let's be conservative here and say 3.125%. So you buy a house for $300,000 at 3.125% interest rate. Your principal and interest on that is going to be roughly $1,220 a month. Now let's say in a year that the price of that same house drops to $275, which is far-fetched because real estate's a slow-moving locomotive outside of 2008. And prices don't typically drop that quickly. But let's just say, for argument's sake, it drops $25,000. The same house is $275, but interest rates go up to 4.125%, which is actually very realistic for interest rates to go up a point in a year. We've seen it happen before. Because the interest rate went up a full percentage point, the payment is now $1,266. You just cost yourself almost $50 a month. And now, while that doesn't seem like a lot, it adds up. That's $600 a year. And over the life of the loan, if it's a 30-year mortgage, that's $18,000. So is that the only reason you should make your decision? No. But is it a factor? Yes. People look at price and they say, no, I'll wait. But it's not the full picture. You need to know that. So I hope this helps. As always, if you have any questions on how this might impact you or anyone you know, please share this video. You're welcome to contact us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Again, hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. Have a great rest of the summer, and I'll see you next time.